So, we need to solve this equation over the set of complex numbers, find the magnitude of the solutions, and draw them in the complex plane. We also have a hint here that we will need to use the following formulas. So, let's look at our equation. X cubed plus 1 is equal to 0. Well, so let's use the first formula they give us here, the sum of cubes, and we will get that x cubed, I'll change the color, 1 second. Thanks. X cubed plus 1 is equal to x plus 1 times x squared minus x times 1, so just x, plus 1. And we know that this is equal 0, so x plus 1 times x squared minus x plus 1 is equal 0. Now, to solve this equation, we need to look at two possible scenarios. So, scenario number 1 is that x plus 1 is equal 0. If x plus 1 is equal to 0, then x is equal to negative 1. And let's look at the second scenario. Scenario number 2 is when x squared minus x plus 1 is equal 0. To solve this scenario, we will use the following rule, which we often use to solve quadratic equations, that if our quadratic equation looks like this, a times x squared plus b times x plus c is equal to 0, then the two roots would be equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, and this whole thing is over 2a. Well, let's use it here. So x, our solutions are equal to negative b. Here our a is equal to 1, b is equal to negative 1, and c is equal to 1. So negative b would be negative 1 plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 1, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is also 1 times a times c, and this is over 2a, so over 2 times 1. Well, let's simplify this whole thing. Our solutions are equal to 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 minus 4 over 2. This is equal to 1 plus or minus the square root of negative 3 over 2. And this is when we need to use our complex numbers. So the square root of negative 3 is equal to the square root of negative 1 times 3. And here we remember that I squared is equal to negative 1, so we can substitute it and we will get that this is equal to square root of I squared times 3, which is equal to I times square root of 3. Let's write it down. So our solutions are equal to 1 plus or minus I times square root of 3 over 2. So our solution 1, our first solution is equal to 1 plus I times square root of 3 over 2. Our second solution is equal to 1 minus I times square root of 3 over 2. Well, so we have 3 solutions here. Let's not forget about this one. So x is either equal to negative 1 or 1 plus I times square root of 3 over 2, or 1 minus I times square root over 2 times square root of 3 over 2. Well, let's find the magnitude now. So the magnitude is equal to the square root of 1 over 2 square plus square root of 3 over 2 squared, and this is equal to square root of 1/4 plus 3/4. This is equal to square root of 4/4, which is 1. Which means that the magnitude of our solutions is 1. The magnitude of our solutions is 1.